So, what if the solution to Australia's completely overcrowded hospitals wasn't about building more hospitals, but building better houses? It sounds a bit counterintuitive, right? Well, today we're diving into a fascinating report from Western Sydney University that lays out a single, really powerful blueprint to tackle both our housing and our healthcare crises at the same time. Let's get into it. It all kicks off with this very strange question. Why are our hospitals full of patients who are, medically speaking, perfectly fine to go home? And no, that's not a riddle. The answer to that question actually unlocks one of the biggest bottlenecks in our entire national infrastructure. Just look at the numbers here. The scale of this mismatch is incredible. In a place like Queensland, for every 1,000 people, you've got 123 hospitalizations, but only about 2.5 available beds. The system is already stretched to its absolute limit, and that's before we even start talking about the healthy patients who are stuck there with nowhere else to go. To really understand how we got here, we've got to look at the root causes. Because the thing is, these aren't separate problems. They're all tangled together, feeding into this massive national bottleneck. Okay, first up, pure population growth. Queensland alone is on track to hit 6.7 million people by 2036. More people means way more demand for, well, everything, from houses to hospital beds. And here's a critical layer inside that growth. A massive demographic shift is happening. The number of seniors is set to basically skyrocket to 1.3 million. And that puts a very specific kind of pressure on the system, a huge, growing need for accessible living and aged care services. Which, you guessed it, brings us right back to the hospitals. All these different pressures are converging to create what experts are calling the Great Hospital Logjam. So who's actually getting stuck in this logjam, and maybe more importantly, why? This really gets to the heart of the problem. It's a phenomenon known as bed blocking. We're talking about patients who don't need acute medical care anymore. They're ready for discharge, but they physically have no suitable place to be discharged to. No aged care spot, no accessible home, no transitional place to recover. And this isn't just some abstract theory. On a single day in just one region, southeast Queensland, there were 398 patients stuck in hospital beds they no longer needed. Just try to imagine the cost, the waste, and honestly, the human toll that takes on people. Now, a really key part of this whole story involves the NDIS. To put it simply, the NDIS gives funding to people with disabilities. A specific slice of that funding, called SDA, is meant to help them pay rent in specially designed, accessible homes. But here's the catch. Even with the funding ready to go, there's a huge housing shortage. In Queensland right now, there's a 40% shortfall of the specialist disability accommodation that's needed. It just doesn't exist. And that shortage directly contributes to the hospital logjam. And this isn't just a Queensland problem, not by a long shot. The health minister in New South Wales confirmed it, saying that on any given day, around 1,200 people, a mix of older patients and NDIS participants, are stuck in hospital beds, creating a system-wide crisis. Okay, so the problem is clear. It's big, it's complicated, it's got a lot of moving parts. But this is where the report pivots to a surprisingly elegant solution that could tackle all of them at once. It's called the 4-pillar hybrid model. The big idea here is to completely change how we think about this kind of infrastructure. You know, the old way was to build these single-purpose blocks, disability housing over here, seniors living way over there. But that's not just inefficient, it can actually create isolated communities. So the question is, what if one single, intelligently designed building could serve all these different needs at the same time? And here's how it works. These are the 4 pillars. Pillar 1, that high-need SDA housing that we know is in such short supply. 2, transitional accommodation for people just leaving the hospital. 3, high-quality, accessible homes for seniors. And 4, and this one's interesting, accessible holiday accommodation to tap into a huge tourism market. It really is a powerful and simple concept when you boil it down. One building, designed from day one to be flexible, adaptable, and inclusive, tackling 4 of the most critical housing shortages we have in this country. Okay, but I know what you're thinking. Does it actually make financial sense? So often these kinds of social solutions are seen as, not very profitable. This next part looks at the economics, and honestly, the numbers are pretty mind-blowing. This is the question that can stop amazing projects like this dead in their tracks, right? Is there always a trade-off between doing something good for the community and making a good investment? Well, according to this report, the answer is a hard no. I mean, just look at this direct comparison. It's stunning. For a typical 2-bedroom unit,
A building that's 100% SDA housing brings in about $773 per square meter. The hybrid model? $1,578. It literally more than doubles the income.
And this chart really drives that point home. It breaks down the financial uplift across different apartment sizes. Just look at that middle bar. A 104% increase for 2-bedroom units. By diversifying how the building is used, you're not just creating social good, you're creating a far more financially resilient and profitable asset. And you might still be wondering about that fourth pillar, holiday accommodation. Is that really a big market? Oh yeah, it is absolutely not a niche market. Accessible tourism in Australia is a $29 billion a year industry. Accommodation alone is almost $7 billion of that. This isn't some small side hustle, it's a massive economic driver.
So let's zoom out. What are the bigger implications here? Is this just a clever idea for 1 or 2 buildings? Or could this be a genuine blueprint for how we build social infrastructure in the future?
The report itself makes a very, very bold claim. It basically concludes that this hybrid approach is so much better both financially and for the community that it could make the old way of doing things, building single-purpose SDA housing, completely obsolete.
All right, so let's just recap the big takeaways. This model directly helps ease that bed block crisis in our hospitals. It provides desperately needed housing for people with disabilities and for seniors. It taps into that huge, profitable, accessible tourism market. And at the end of the day, it creates a much stronger, more financially resilient asset. It's a whole new way of thinking about social infrastructure.
And all of that leaves us with one final thought. When we face these huge, interconnected problems, our first instinct is often to just build more of everything. But maybe the real key isn't about building more, but building smarter. Maybe this is the kind of blueprint we've been looking for all along.